Shalom and welcome to Yeshiva B'nai Noach. I'm Tom Averna, and this is our beginning biblical Hebrew course as we take a look at chapter 13, sentences without verbs. Our new chapter. We're reviewing this section, and there'll be a lot of, we've seen this before, the idea of sentences without verbs. We'll get into a little more detail in this chapter. But first, let's take a look at our oral review. So, as normal, I think what I want to do here is to just read the Hebrew, and we'll do it that way. And don't forget that you can go up to Quizlet to get the translations. We may do more translations in this section in the as we get to the exercises, but for the oral review, let's just practice reading the Hebrew. So I'll start us out with this. Let me get my pointer here. So, Elech im Avraham asher ba'ir v'az ochal lechem. Telech im Sarah teshev basadeh v'az tochal ben ha'etzim. Telchi im David, teshvi bamidbar Moav, v'az tochli ba'ohel. Avraham ילך עם רחל, ישב במקום, ואז יאכל שם. היא תלך עם משה, תשב בארץ, ואז תאכל עם הבהמות. Number 2. ניקח את כלי הזהב אשר נמצא בבית. תיקחו את בנות רחל אשר תמצאו בלב המדבר. הם ייקחו את אנשי מואב אשר ימצאו על יד השער. And number 3. אזכור את הדרך כי אדע את המקום. Number 3, or second line. אתה תזכור את הכהן כי תדע את שם האיש. תזכרי את הבנים כי תדעי את האבות. הוא יזכור חלב ודם כי ידע את המלחמה. תזכור את ימי ישראל כי תדע את דברי דוד. 4. כה נאמר אל בני ישראל שלום. כה תאמרו למלך נלך עם משה. Ko Yomru La'achei Rut Lo Telchu Misham. Five. Im Eftach et ha-sha'ar Hem Yeda'u ki Hayiti babayit. Im Tiftach et ha-sha'ar Hu Yeda ki Hayita babayit. Im Niftach et ha-sha'ar Hi Teda ki Hayinu babayit. Im Yiftechu et ha-sha'ar Anachnu Neda ki Hem Hayu babayit. So let's look at that's the oral review, and we'll take a look at the vocabulary here. Reminding you again, the vocabulary is up on Quizlet. Be sure and make use of your resources to practice. Get to Carnegie Hall that way. So let's take a look. We'll just run through it here. We have Adama or Admat. Okay, this is the word pair form. Adama is ground or earth, and it is feminine. I think I've mentioned this before. Most nouns that have to do with the earth are feminine. Most earth, cities, countries, etc. Are feminine, as well as nouns that have to do with parts of the body, the dual parts. Okay, so that's that. Next word we have is ein. Ein, there is not, there are not. Okay, and we'll be talking about this more in this chapter. But essentially, this is functions in a very similar way to the word lo. It negates the sentence. But again, there is not or there are not. Ele, these, this, it can be masculine or feminine. Ele, these, which is the plural of, we're kind of skipping a little bit here, but just I think to show you the order, zot is feminine for this. Ze is masculine for this. So this, and they, and these. These three words kind of go together. We'll again talk about this in the chapter. Aim or aim, mother, feminine. Hine, behold, here is. Hine. And then, of course, as we said, zot and ze. Next noun we have is zera. Zera in the word pair form, exactly the same. Masculine for seed or descendants. Remember we had this in our previous tall tales. Zera. Yam, yamim. Si is masculine. Or yam is the word pair form. Yesh, there is and there are. There is and there are. So this is the positive to this negative. There is not, there are not is ein. The positive is yesh. There is and there are. And we'll see in the chapter how this gets used. Laila, night, masculine, or leilot in the plural form. Leilot or Laila. And then, and of course, the very popular, not popular, but well-used greeting, Laila Tov, is how you would say good night, Laila Tov in Hebrew. All right, going on, the word for wind, spirit, or breath is ruach, or ruchot, plural. And then ruach in the word pair form. And again, can be either masculine or feminine, wind, spirit, or breath. Shamayim and shamay. It is a plural word that can be translated either plural or singular. Sky, heavens, kind of like water, same thing. So shamayim and shamay. Shamay is the word pair form, of course, making im as a plural. You would use may, the tzere yod ending. Law or instruction, or Torah, feminine, is Torah or Torat. Torat. And there are notes here. The word zera, meaning seed, is a collective noun, so that also can be used in singular or plural form. Some of the idioms in this chapter, and all of this is on Quizlet for the vocab rehearsal practice. So we've had the hey of direction before, I believe, but this is, so yama would be toward the sea or westward. So the direction westward comes because the Mediterranean Sea is west of Israel. So westward is also, this is used as a direction. Yama. And then hashamayma would be toward the heavens or heavenwards. Again, we have the hey of direction on the end of hashamayim. And then halayla is tonight. Halayla. The night means tonight. Halayla. Continuing on, this from your book, Sentences Without Verbs, the noun sentence, all of this really we've seen before. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but just to say that in Hebrew, the present tense to be verb is generally always understood. So you would not have a verb in this, then that becomes a noun sentence. So, hu Abraham, he is Abraham. Haim Kohanim, they are priests. So the are, the is, those are understood. He, Naomi, she is Naomi. Anachnu b'Moab, we are in Moab. So the to be verb is understood. In English, he, Abraham, or she, Naomi, are not complete sentences, but always when you're translating it, you would add the to be verb that is missing. Okay, so a Hebrew sentence that has at least one noun and at least one other word and no apparent verb is called a noun sentence. So if it doesn't have a verb, it's still a sentence, but it's a noun sentence. Okay. Generally, the understanding is that we haven't talked about present tense yet, but to get the present tense in a verb, you would add the letter vav in the middle or the midst of the verb. So the problem with that is when you have the letters yad, hey, vav, hey, you have that idea of recognizing that as the name of God, and because that name is sacred, then it's not even used in another form, which would be the form of the to be verb in the present tense. So that's primarily why the present tense is left out of sentences, but it is understood. Okay? So that means the time frame of noun sentences is usually determined by other words in the sentence. So as we'll see next, you don't know what the time frame is. Hu David could be he was David, he is David, he will be David. You don't necessarily know that. You can kind of guess if it's without a verb that it is the present tense, but you don't know that. But then you have to look at context and see other things. So here we see Ra'iti, this is past tense. I saw a man, and he was David. So was would be the your clue. This is past tense here, so your to be verb will be past tense. All right. So you would include that as past tense. So that's using the script to give you clues if it's there. So anachnu nashem, we were, are, will be women. You don't know which one of these to choose, but then you go to amarnu, and once again we see the past tense, so it would be we were women. All right, and then ze habayit, this is, was, will be the house, but here we have ze habayit asher yeshev, so we have a future tense here, sham Moshe, so we would translate where Moses will reside. Where Moses will reside. So this, I'm sorry, going back here. This will be the house. So this would become, so this, the house, the verb that you add in here, the to be verb, is going to be future tense because you see the future tense right here. All right, a little confusing. We'll get used to it. We'll practice it. Don't stress too much about it. It'll become second nature. Promise. Extra pronoun, we've talked about this before too. Sometimes in a sentence, the extra pronoun will appear after the subject, and this is primarily in noun sentences. Okay, but when it does appear, you essentially ignore it. It is, according to the book, just simply emphasizing the subject. So ha'av hu melech, the father, he is king. You wouldn't translate it that way. You would just translate the father is king. Okay, the who just emphasizes the father. Sarah he ha Sarah is the mother, but literally Sarah she is the mother. Right? Extra pronoun only used in noun sentences. The use of yesh, and we have seen the usage of the to be verb in a prior chapter. Haya as there was or there were in the perfect tense. There was or there were. So haya ish basadeh, there was a man in the field. Now you can make that present tense by using, instead of haya, because this would be past tense or perfect tense, you can make it present tense by replacing that with the word yesh. Yesh is there is. So kind of get used to when you see yesh, and when you memorize yesh, its memorization is there is or there are, depending on whether it's singular or plural. Yesh ish basadeh, there is a man in the field. So instead of haya, if you're in the present tense, you want to use the word yesh. Yesh ish basadeh, there is a man in the field. Or in the plural, and this doesn't change, singular, plural, masculine, feminine, it's the same. But yesh anashim basadeh, there are people in the field. The yesh doesn't need to agree with any other word in the sentence, masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. So now we mention this up front in the vocabulary, the use of ein and lo. Now the word ein means there is not or there are not. And it is the negation of yesh that we just saw. So yesh is there is or there are, but ein, think of ain't. Ain kind of sounds like ain't. I ain't got none. I ain. There is not any. So that might help you. Ain't, for all I know, might even come from this. But ain. Ain is the negation. There is not or there are not. Again, look, notice, please, the pattern here. This is present tense. There is and there are. Yesh is in the present tense. This is there is not or there are not. Yesh would be there is or there are. Again, present tense. So yesh, there is a man in the field, or ein ish basadeh, there is not a man in the field. Yesh anashim basadeh, there are people in the field. Ein anashim basadeh, there are not people in the field. So these words here, yesh and ein, are primarily used to negate a noun sentence. So we have ata ish, you are a man, or ein ata ish, you are not a man. So how does this differ from lo? Lo does the same thing. It negates the verb. So in order to have the verb negated, you have to have a verb, right? So you couldn't use lo in a noun sentence. It has to be used to negate a sentence in the perfect or imperfect tense. Now, we'll learn later in vocabulary, lo is also can be used on its own as the word no, but in this case, we're talking about using it to negate a sentence. So if you have a verb and you want to negate it, you have to use the word lo. If you don't have a verb and you want to negate it, you use the word ein. Okay? So lo hayu anashim basadeh, there were no people in the field. David lo ra'a et hayam, David saw not, David did not see the sea, hayam. Ha'em lo tiftach et ha'sha'ar, the mother will not open the gate. Words ein and lo don't need to agree with any other word in the sentence, so they can be masculine, feminine, singular, or plural. And then here you have a chart. There is a handout on the review sheet for this chapter. So you can get that by going to Google Docs and downloading it. But here it is. You do, because we use the to be verb not only as the to be verb but also as a designation of there is or there are, and you have to know the perfect tense and the imperfect tense in order to do that. So again, we have the endings are the same, so don't get too confused. Just kind of look for the pattern again. What is the pattern? So in the perfect tense, the pattern is almost always hayi, hayi, hayi. And then you have the same ending as on any perfect verb. So hayita, I, hayita, you, masculine singular, hayit, you, feminine singular. Skipping these two for now. Hayi, nu, we. Hayitem, you, masculine plural. Hayiten, you, feminine plural. So, and then coming back here, of course, haya. In the perfect tense, you just use the verb on its own to represent the third person, he. And then adding a hey, and whenever you have a hey ending, a verb that ends in hey, you're going to substitute a tav for it. So hayta, so here's a little different than the hayi that I told you, but hayta would be she, and then also they is a little different. Hayu would be they, and this can be masculine or feminine. Now over in the imperfect, same thing. Same beginnings, same prefixes, same suffixes for the to be verb. But your voweling is a little different. But here you have the hey, yod, hey, yod, hey, hey, yod, and then you have the ye here. Hey, yod, hey, yod, hey. So again, just note your patterns. But in the imperfect tense, I will be is an aleph at the beginning. You, masculine singular, will be is a tav at the beginning. You, feminine singular, is a tav at the beginning and a yud at the end. He, in the imperfect tense, he will be is a yud at the beginning. Feminine is a tav with a hey, so remember this repeats as she, so he and she. And then nun is we at nun at the beginning. A tav and an u combo is you plural masculine. Tina is you plural feminine. And then here you have something different. You have so they here was either masculine or feminine. Here you do have two endings for masculine, which is the yud, which is the he prefix, with the plural u ending. So the plural of he is they. So ye'u. And then Tina again, this repeats here for they, for they feminine plural. For they feminine. Okay. Memorize, practice, practice, practice. Very important. All right. So go through that. Any noun sentence can be given a specific time frame by adding the verb haya in the appropriate tense. So here's where it's kind of important to know. Now, for me, this is a little confusing. A noun sentence doesn't have a verb, all right? So if you add a verb to a noun sentence, in my mind, it's no longer a noun sentence. So I see this as a little strange kind of defining here. The noun sentence, remember, is primarily going to be in the present tense. So he blank David. He is David, most likely, because there's no verb. If there's no verb, chances are what you're missing is the present tense to be verb. So he is David. Then if you add a verb, he, haya, well, this is past tense. So he was David. That's just a verb sentence. It's no longer a noun sentence. Or hu ye, he will be David. Again, a verb sentence, not a noun sentence. So the same thing all the way through here. You can kind of look through that. But so for my money, just recognize if it doesn't have a verb, you have to substitute the most likely the present tense to be verb is what you would be substituting, or adding, I should say, adding in here when you translate it. So that, I think, is the primary thing you want to focus on. A noun sentence is always going to be missing the to be verb. And that's almost always, I don't want to say always, but without a verb in there, you can kind of guess that what you're translating here is a present tense to be verb. All right, so just think that through a little bit. And finally, ze and zot and ele, we've had all of, or this is all part of our vocabulary. So again, if you memorize the vocabulary, you'll get this. Just this note here, 25, it simply says that zot, spelled with a zayin aleph tav, can also appear as zo or zo. Zo with a hey, or zo with the cholam vav here. So just beware, it could appear in that way. But primarily, for right now, focus on the vocabulary as we have it. So ze is this is masculine, zot is this is feminine, ele is these are, and it can be either masculine or feminine. Okay, the words ze, zot, and ele can be used with the perfect and imperfect as well, as in noun sentences. So you could have them in a verb sentence. So in that case, all right, that would be the exception. If you have a verb, that verb is going to set the tense. So otherwise, this is always going to be in the present tense. Ze, zot, and ele, always the present tense, unless there's a verb in there. So in a noun sentence, this is going to be in the present tense. This is a king. This is a mother. These are kings. These are lands, all present tense. If you add a verb in there and that verb is past tense, then you would just be remembering that you translate as this and these. This and these. Okay, so ze haya hamelech. This was the king. Zot tiyeh haaretz. This will be the land. Ele hayu ha-melachim. These were the kings. So you always get your tense. You always get your tense from your verb. If there's a verb, don't try and translate as this as these were the kings. That doesn't make any sense. So it's just these were the kings. All right. Again, a lot of information. Just go over the vocab. Please review the vocab. You'll get it. You will get it. Just review the vocab. All right? So do that, and we'll be in great shape. Remember, that's up on Google Docs. So that's chapter 13. Short and sweet, sentences without verbs. We'll take a look next at the exercises for chapter 13. And we'll see how we do. We'll probably spend a little more time on them than, as I said, than we normally do, because we are getting into a lot of new territory here. So we may do some translations as well with the exercises. But please review the vocabulary, and make sure you know the imperfect and perfect tense conjugations for haya, for the to be verb. Okay. I think that's it. So thanks for sharing this time with me. For Yeshiva B'nai Noach, I'm Tom Averna. Shalom.